I'm Richard Saxton. My guest on Market Talk is the president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Arthur Hiller, now in his third year as president of the Academy. And of course, it's his organization that oversees the Oscars. He himself nominated in 1970 for Love Story. And maybe we should start off by asking you, Arthur, the nomination that you received in 1970, 26 years ago, how much did that change your life? Did it make you a lot more money and certainly a lot more popular as a director who's now directed over 30 movies?
Yes. No, in terms of finances, because Paramount was going under at the time, and they weren't going to make the film, and I had to literally swear that I wouldn't go over $2 million on the budget, and I came in under the $2 million. But they came to me when we were a few weeks in and said, they just didn't have money. Would I reduce my salary? And they'd give me a percentage of the profits. And I thought, when you're part of it and they don't have the money, I said, fine. Well, that percentage of the profits, I could have retired after Love Story and not worked again, except I love making films. And it brought me, attention everywhere. And no matter what films I've done before or since, I'm sure my tombstone will read, Arthur Love Story Hiller.
Tell me about the nominations this year. I understand Nicolas Cage, who's leaving Las Vegas.
Right.
He's now gone from asking $3 million a film to
14
million
yes,
or something.
Yes.
This is typical of nominated people and nominated pictures.
It is typical, but it's also typical if they're in a film that succeeds. You can do a film at one price. Look at John Travolta's price on Pulp Fiction and what it is now. It just, as long as you are in a financially successful film, you have great chance then of increasing your particular salary.
As somebody who is in the Academy, where fine work is really what's recognized, not the box office.
That's true.
Last year, Forrest Gump was a box office hit as well as a hit at the Oscars. What do you see in terms of the relationship between winning an Oscar and the box office?
Well, it depends a lot on how long the release was or how many people went. For instance, Forrest Gump, its business only went up, I think, about 4% after it got its victory. But if you look at the average of films of the Oscar-winning films, it's about 40% increase. It goes up an increase of that much. So it depends, though, a lot on, for instance, Forrest Gump, everybody had run to see it anyway. But if an Oscar is given to a film that was not that popular a film, it helps it immeasurably.
Right, Braveheart, I think it was re-released, it's on video, and it's getting a big boost from its 10 nominations.
And Il Postino has picked up considerably in box office since the nominations. But it can happen the other way, too. I think Mr. Holland's Opus has dropped 8%, but that's because it had its it's hard to, but basically, yes, a 40% increase if you win, and even if you're nominated, I think the average is about 6 to 8% increase.
So all the winners of this year's Oscars should profit immensely, and if they're already high on the pedestal, they'll even move higher?
Yes, but remember, what are the Oscars? The Oscars are, we are rewarding excellence, and the voting is by your peers. It's by people who work at making films. It's not by people who watch, it comes from your peers. And that's why it's become the most popular event within the industry.
Is Arthur Hiller. He is a director, and in his third year as president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, we're talking about the Oscars, and we've got to talk about the politics because that is a big issue. Tom Hanks has won 2 Oscars for Best Actor 2 years in a row. This year, not even nominated for Apollo 13, which itself I think was nominated for 9. A little bit of politics there. Well, we've had enough of Tom Hanks, so let's move on to somebody else. What do you think?
Not at all. I think the feeling was that there were 5 performances that were better this year. Politics, why was Tom nominated last year for Forrest Gump? He'd been nominated the year before for Philadelphia. You can't do it that way. It is, as I say, rewarding your peers for excellence. And who would you take out? Which of those 5 would you take away and put Tom Hanks in?
Well, let me ask you now, because the Oscars are so successful, so the Directors Guild Awards, the Golden Globe Awards, the Screen Actors, the SAG Awards now, which have now been on for a couple of years, is getting more competitive, so I guess people are getting recognized by different peer groups, and if they're not recognized at the Oscars and they're recognized somewhere else, it's a bit of a controversy, isn't it?
Sometimes it feels that way, but yet each person who is nominated for an Oscar is nominated by their own peers. That is, each cinematographer, only the cinematographer members of the Academy nominate the 5 cinematographers. Only the directors branch members nominate the directors, and so on for each category. So you are nominated by your peers. Then everybody votes on the 5. And of course, everybody nominates in best film.
Is there a leaning towards the epics, whether it be Dances with Wolves? I mean, even Forrest Gump was 2 hours, 22 minutes. Braveheart, of course, another 3-hour epic. Is there somewhat of a leaning that the epics should do better when it comes to the voting?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody's ever done a study. If it's a good epic, yes. No, I think that my hope is that everybody votes from their emotional feel of what is the best in that category.
Let me ask you about the role of the Academy. You're not paid to be president of the Academy.
Nobody.
I mean, the Oscars is your big event. It makes a lot of money.
Yes, that is what keeps us going. It's that money that lets us do our other aspect, which is the nurturing of new excellence, of bringing along the new people. We have the Center for Motion Picture Studies, which is the best research center on film in the world. And we do workshops for young people, so they can. You don't even have to be that young. You could for anybody, and you can, meet with a group of cinematographers or with a group of choreographers. You learn things that way. And we have the Nichols Fellowship. If you've written a script and you've never sold a script, you can apply, and half a dozen will be selected and given a fellowship to write their scripts.
The Grammys, they're moving to Madison Square Garden
Yes.
because they need the big venue. The Shrine is substantially larger than the Dorothy Chandler, where the Oscars are this year. Why go to such a small venue, and what's the future, where the Oscars going to be in the future because of the popularity?
We go to both venues. We have arrangements with both. We're doing this year at the Dorothy Chandler, next year the Dorothy Chandler, the year after the Shrine. It's.
But don't you want a bigger venue for such a large event, or does it matter? Doesn't matter because of the TV exposure?
No, it does matter because we would like all our members to be able to attend, all our members who want to attend. So the bigger the venue, but we don't want to get too big. We wouldn't like to be in Madison Square Garden or an arena like that, because we're not putting. Yes, we're doing a show, but that's not our point. Our point is not the show. Our point is saying to our peers, boy, did you do great work. We want to honor you.
How do you select awards? Because I know some award ceremonies, there's hundreds, and they have to know where to cut it off and who to award. So many different categories now, from computer animation, graphics, all this new technology is bringing in other areas that should be recognized.
Well, indeed we have. For instance, we now have, for the first time on our Board of Governors, members of the Special Effects branch, because that branch has now become large enough, because of the way films are made now, to be very representative. So now that's been an increase. And we try to give an award in every area. Obviously you have to make selection, and that selection was made years ago, but we do change periodically.
And what to award on Oscar night in the 3-hour telecast, as opposed to maybe a smaller ceremony earlier?
Yes, that's true. We do have a scientific and technical awards night sooner, where we give our scientific and technical awards in a beautiful evening, also a presentation, and then we do show each of the winners on the actual show.
Let's get back more to the business of filmmaking as it relates to yourself. You've directed about 30 movies.
Yes.
Just finished one in Vancouver called Carpool with Tom Arnold. Why did you shoot in Vancouver, and is a lot of production moving out of Los Angeles for the reasons that you might be telling me right now?
I don't think it's the reasons. I think it's the reason, and not only the reason, it's just one word: money.
Is it cheaper?
Oh, yes. It is more economical because of the dollar value, and the wage level is a little better. So companies, many of the studios and independents love to film in Canada, and there are wonderful crews that actually the crews got their training through the Canadian government trying to help the Canadian film industry and setting up a tax shelter for, or a tax, what do you call it, not shelter, but an assistance, so that it would encourage Canadian films to be made. And many were made, but unfortunately they were made by financiers, not by the creative people. The result was the films weren't so good, but the people learned how to make films. The technical people became very efficient, and that has brought Canada considerable business.
Now, to qualify for those subsidies, you have to have so much Canadian content, I presume.
Yes, that law changed. There still is a Canadian subsidy for Canadian-made films, or you can come in with an American. If you have, it depends the degree, the percentage of Canadian employment.
And we should point out, like I am, you are a Canadian as well.
Yes.
So you may have shot there for more patriotic reasons than the budgets, but American cast, a movie that is supposed to take place not in Vancouver, but in an American city.
A lot of Canadian cast.
There is.
A lot of a lot of actors, Canadian actors in the film.
Are they hard to find? Is it because there's so much being done up there as far as crews and so on?
No.
There's enough people up there working.
Yes, wonderful actors. And it was, you felt like you were working here.
Okay. Let me ask you about the Oscars. Obviously, you vote, but do you strictly vote in the director category?
No.
Because you're a director, or because you're president of the Academy, you can vote in all categories?
No, everybody votes in all categories.
Okay.
You nominate in your own category. You only one category nominates, but everybody votes for the final five. I should say every one of our voting members. We have some associate members and members at large, so that our membership is just over 5,000 and our voting is just under 5,000.
How do you become a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences?
You are invited to join. If two people in your particular branch must sponsor you, then a committee from that branch of about 20 people goes over all the applicants and decides whether that particular person has reached a level of excellence in the motion picture industry. Or if you win an Academy Award or are nominated. For instance, our youngest member is 14 years old because it was that young girl in the piano.
He was Canadian, I believe.
Born in Canada.
Born in Canada.
Moved at age 2 to New Zealand, yes.
We have a minute left here. I want to ask you some more business questions.
Okay.
It's not the box office anymore. It's video sales. It's international sales.
Correct.
I mean, it's such a global world when it comes to raising money. Even poor films end up doing well, don't they?
Not necessarily well, but certainly the distributor gets their money back a lot more often than they used to. The number of films that go into, let's say, net profit are very few. But you say, well, then why? How do the companies exist? They exist on the fact that they are the distributors, and they have their distribution deals, and on, as you say, the other markets, the foreign markets, the video cassette market.
All right, we're out of time. Is it going to be a clean sweep for Braveheart? What do you think?
I have no idea what it. No, this is one wonderful year in that nobody can make really sure predictions.
All right, let's see if they come out the way you voted. Arthur Hiller, who's president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, my guest on Market Talk.